other side. I can get into this argument about that. She actually took so much money from the Cuban dictator, and she promoted another form of medicine, and a lot of people died in her actually nursery. I could go into that. And she was actually responsible for not treating them, but treating them by the Bible. So it was like a very controversial issue. But this is not the issue. The issue is that there's like even the greatest people, I think, have two sides of it.
You seem to disagree.
Yeah, I disagree completely on that one. There are saints among us.
Yeah.
Surely, give us names.
No, I don't need to
give an example.
But there are.
I don't.
I think it's
You're next.
One really good example of great generals and history is the game Crusader Kings 2. In order to win, you have to kill a child or two in order to win this game. It's messed up, but it's a game. But if you think about it, history has every great general sacrificed a couple of things along the way to achieve a higher goal. But there are exceptions. There are exceptions to every formula in the whole world. Like, what's the definition of something concrete? Like, ما أدري شلون أقولها بالإنجليزي. شنو تعريف القاعدة لكل قاعدة شواذ؟ بالضبط. لازم يكون في exception. But to a man cannot be complete. Man cannot be flawless. He will do something in his own moralistic value that other people see wrong. مثل Mongols. They did a lot of very disturbing things, but to them, this is, in order to win, we have to do this. There are exceptions, a lot of exceptions. One may argue, but this is what reality is.
I don't think you have to be bad to be great, or to go to that extreme, or to be cruel. And it's about perception. Greatness means different things to different people. That's how you define it. And I can't think of the top of my head, because there are a lot of great people who are defined as being great because of all the good they've done in the world. Who, even if they have, they're not perfect. Of course not, because they're human. Like 80% of them, or their intention is out there to do good.
Sorry, I just have to throw this quote out there. Spiderman, with great powers come great responsibilities. Like, why did no one mention this already? Like, you can have as much power as you want. It's about what you do with this power. If you want to do it with greatness, if you want to be Mother Teresa, if you want to be, I don't know, Hitler, like, do anything without.
Well, that's a good transition to the first part of John's quote. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely?
Yes.
That's why we have checks and balances here. Government.
Yes. The Roman Republic was established to remove power from a great individual. But if you look at the history of the Roman Republic and you look at your current democracies based on that republican system, don't you see that we just kind of delayed the method? That people eventually use laws like these to attain power for them, not really for any greater good.
Maybe they are the greater good.
Maybe.
I think like the quote that you read, well, was that great, like every great.
Great men are almost always bad men.
Because I think it relates to they're talking about manipulation, right? Like in order to get what we want to influence people, you have to do a lot of manipulation. And it's a bit selfish because you just want to influence people to think the way you think, and it's egocentric as well. Like you're not giving them the freedom to choose what they want. I think that's what the quote really is. But like a lot of other people said, it depends on how we define power. We could also define it. That's like power from politics.
We're also going to converse to their reputations being tarnished, since they're obviously great men. They have to have some hearsay around them.
We were assuming that great men means, or great people means powerful people. There's a lot of very great people that weren't very powerful at all. People like Kafka or people like that. Who were very skilled and brought a lot to the world, but they weren't very powerful in the kind of conventional sense. But they had another power which often came after they died. They had like power in their afterlife, I guess. Yeah.
So, there are a lot of techniques presented here. Some good, some cynical, some bad, some horrifying. And do you find yourself using these techniques?
Sure.
If you were doing this?
Like will use or currently using?
Sorry, I was gonna mention before about the parliament system, the Roman system. There's a famous quote, especially if you see the British Parliament. I don't know if anyone saw it, but it really looks very comedic, and there's a lot of shouting, and it looks like a stand-up comedy. Someone stands and the other cheers. And the famous quote is that it's theater for the masses, yani the Parliament. Everybody cheers for it. You vote on for your best musician, like it's the best Parliament and member of Parliament to go there. So it's just one way or another. It's a show for the rest of us, the people.
Anybody want to expand on that?
Gladiators. Gaming's for the mob.
Yeah, pretty much. Same example, yeah. So we're going to get back to the point, which is, do you find yourself using these techniques? Some said they're already currently using it. Now the question is, which is the elephant in the room, which I assume in Instagram, as Reggie told me, caused a lot of tension. Is it wrong to use some of these techniques? Is it morally unjustifiable to use certain laws in this book?
Absolutely not.
It depends on your intentions entirely. So if you remove the intentions that Greene is propagating, and because a lot of them are very manipulative and downright evil, but if you take them for just as they are, like for example, concentrate your forces, you can interpret this as concentrate your efforts on focusing on one task and achieving that, or one particular goal and achieving that. Or another one is master the art of timing. So he goes on to say in that a person who is always in a rush looks like he's not in control, and it's entirely true. So once you master the art of timing, you're always in control, and you have that air of confidence. And another law, like speaking of confidence, is interaction with boldness. There are so many that are just like, if you just take at face value without going into his interpretation, which is fine because he's drawing from history and narrating examples of how people in power in the past have used these to their advantage. But if you want to use them to your advantage without these intentions, I think that's fine because you're mastering yourself. And yeah.
I didn't read it, I just went through the 48 laws themselves, and obviously they reflect their Machiavellian a lot, in my opinion, but I understand that I think it all depends on how you apply it. But at the end of the day, the goals and rule of if you need to be feared or loved, then you can't be loved, you should be feared in terms of power and control. When we talk about power, we have different levels too, right? But if we're going to put into politics, kind of mentioned, or even your personal life, I do think the most forms of discipline are the strictest and the harshest. And so, with that in mind, I think, use the law. And even if sometimes they might feel like you're on a moral gray line, if you achieve your results, it's really that bad.
Actually, the way I see it, the way I interpret the book is that, like, some people think like power is when you apply these techniques. I disagree because I think everybody applies these techniques. The world is already functioning like this, and you either gain power by being aware of these techniques and mastering them, or you don't gain power by not being aware of them. Like, even people who are saints, if we really think about it, like, they're building an ego off of being moralistic people. A lot of them are like that. Their ego is how good they are, as opposed to everyone else. So if you really think about it, this is how the world is functioning, and that's not something bad, because to me, like, ego is the biggest force on the planet, to be honest. It can drive you to the greatest things and the worst things, depending on how much you master it. So yeah, like, I think everybody applies it. They have to.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Going back to the raise your children example, it's really how do you interpret these laws? Like, you can bring them down to your moralistic level, and you can, these laws are, it's exactly what it says in the book. They're shapeless. They're like formless. It's like we're playing with clay. You can't shape them on your moralistic values. And yeah, it's literally clay at your hand. You can shape them however you like.
I was gonna add to him, but saints don't have egos, do they?
What?
Saints don't have egos.
Saints do have egos.
Come on, man.
They do
Let's
have
do
egos.
some
They do
more.
have egos.
Let's go to the
All
back.
right.
I would say that saints are masters of their egos.
Really?
Yes.
Come on,
yes.
man.
Control their
Thank you.
egos.
That's nice. I like that.
But they do have egos.
Mother Teresa doesn't always help others, but when she does, there's always a camera.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Aziz again.
It's a really like, ego is how you define it. Yeah, it can be a very negative thing. It can be even it's fairly positive. Like the example, everybody's dancing around, like nobody's saying it. It's one of the great people in the world is Prophet Muhammad. He unified the
Great influence.
yeah, the thing, I don't know how to say it in English, but yeah. Like, he influenced people. Like, people followed him. Those people got influenced by him. Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? It's up for interpretation. Like, everybody can see it in his own angle. Like, it's never a 100% right or wrong answer. Like, like here, it's the question is, did the Prophet Muhammad have ego? Like, now this is the question, right? This is a question. Like, here we have to define ego. What is ego?
Awareness. Awareness.
Hmm?
Narrow it's awareness.
I don't think ego as hawa nafs, like self, hawa nafs, self gain.
Regardless of ego or not, I want to introduce the particular law that made me ask this question, which is law number 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Now, like all of you mentioned, you can use it like this or you can use it like that, besides Abdul Wahab, who clearly said that you need to be aware of these things. But if you hear this law, is there any good in it?
Yes, there can be. I think about it as like I worked in management for a long time. If I didn't delegate, and I would oversee the tasks, but if I didn't delegate and specify, you do this, and this is how it connects, it would have never gotten done and it would have never been done right. We would have never achieved it. Like,
You're missing half of the part.
Sorry?
You're missing half of the sentence. You said.
Well, I'm starting it there, right?
Yeah.
So this is the concept of having others do the work, the delegation, taking the credit. Yeah, you deserve the credit. If you're the reason for the success, you deserve the credit.
I would say it's okay if it's a superior. If you take credit from a superior, but don't take credit from your subordinates. As a leader, like if I am a leader of a project, I make sure that my subordinates, I give them credit for every task that they did. But if someone who's a superior who knows more than me teaches me something, I'll take the credit because he doesn't need the credit, and he probably won't care if I take the credit for something.
You can internally praise your subordinates, but you don't have to do it externally because that shows weakness.
But then your subordinates resent you, and they don't want to be led by you.
That could be a
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the idea.
I mean, we think of presidents as the most powerful influences in our times, but what do they really do except for signing papers that other people wrote?
Speeches, yeah.
I think it works in reverse also. Sometimes when you give away credit, you actually get all of the credit by giving it away. So it's the other way around. Even if you get all the people to do the work, you give away the credit, and just by giving it away, you automatically elevate yourself to a different level.
So
Oh, sorry. I mean, I used to work in a place where I would do all the work and give all the credit away willingly. Like you said, I would happily just say, it's not me, it's all this person, it's all this person, it's all this person. But what ended up happening was that I ended up stripping that person of all their power in one move, not intentionally, of course, when I decided to step away. So in many ways, it ended up coming back around full circle. The real power was with me all along. So like you said, the concept of credit is the most basic level of arrogance, saying, I need the credit, I need the credit. If you really want to give someone, if you want to have complete power over someone, which I think is a nonsense concept altogether, but the idea of having control is letting someone think that they really run the game, when in reality it's all it takes from you is one like a backspace, and then they fall apart, thinking that they own all the credit. So I mean, the concept of credit altogether is very basic. Like it's not by any means an important way to get power or essential way to get power.
Just to add on that, I think sometimes somebody seeking credit all the time, that's actually a sign of weakness, not power.
I think here, like when you're saying seeking, and I agree with what you guys are saying, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of it's not necessarily being like, I need the credit, but taking those opportunities to assert yourself. And I guess this whole, like the whole 48 laws of power are in respect or with respect to you versus your opponent or your enemy. It's kind of like a chess game. So in their face, how are you portraying yourself? How are you asserting yourself?
That's the biggest delusion though, right? That you have an enemy or something like that?
Well, I mean, think of like in the context of being written.
Yeah.
Right? I think in that context it does exist.
You can kind of do both, I guess. I mean, often I've worked in, for example, if you're working on a large project, an important project, then the person who's in charge of it, the boss, he can give credit to the people that are working on the project, but as far as his superiors are concerned, he gets all the credit. So ultimately, he's getting the credit, but he can still be rewarding the people underneath him. But they don't need, the people above him don't need to know that's the case, and they just need to see that there's a strong, capable person leading this team, and he gets all the credit by default without claiming it.
Exactly.
I think the question is less about is it good or bad and more about can we avoid it. I mean, everybody has to take credit, it's just practical. Let's take for example Rome, for example. I don't know much about history, but do you think the enemies will fear when they say Julius Caesar is coming to us, or Muhammad and Ali and this guy are coming to us? The fact that it's all in one guy makes that credit practical, which brings me back to the point of credit diffusion. If you diffuse credit, it wouldn't do anything. Like for example, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is known as like the guy who made the iPhone, even though he didn't make the iPhone. But imagine if you just bring a bunch of people and you say, this guy made the camera, this guy made the cover, this guy made that. Each piece of credit that they gave wouldn't serve them. But if you think credit is only useful when it's compiled into one person, and credit is not everything. I don't think that subordinates like necessarily should seek credit. Of course, like there's laws and all of that, so you have to mention their names. But when it comes to credit in the sense that you're the face of the project, I think that's a completely viable thing. And subordinates should understand this because that will benefit all of them actually. This guy's job is to be the face of the company. And I think they should be rewarded not by credit, but by merit within the company, or whatever it is.
I mean, honestly, I think that when you were saying, when you hear Julius Caesar is coming to attack us, or so and so, like, Muhammad and whoever is coming to attack us, you think that the name Julius Caesar will scare you and the others won't. But how much more powerful is it if you're the person who is giving Julius Caesar all of his power behind the scenes? I like the idea of being someone's secret weapon. I have no interest in being the president. I want to be the person who pays the president to do my bidding, so that I can have the real power over him.
Yeah.
Again, this is all complete nonsense. I don't believe in it. That's so he can have all the credit of being the president, while I run the show as a lobbyist or as some funder or something like that. And the minute that I say boom, he scares, or I say go left, he goes left.
Yeah.
That, to me, is like a way more powerful. Like the idea that credit is something to be sought after, or like it deserves its own law. To me, like
Well, that's similar to my point. My point is that credit is a resource.